Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys doing, man? Welcome to Tuesday Training. Today is the day, right? Every day, 9 a.m., I jump on here live and go over some stuff to try to help you, maybe get a better understanding of your world that you live in regards to insurance. Obviously, being the Medicare geek that I am, a lot of what I talk about is always pretty Medicare focused on here. And then obviously from time to time, like last week, we try to bring some guests on that can give you some insight into what they're doing. And ultimately, the goal, as always, is to try to bring you something actionable each day that you can put in your business, put into your career, your practice, whatever you want to call it, and help you do a little better, help you grow a little more, right? If we can all just grow 1% better every day, imagine how much better we would be 365 days later if we did that for a whole year. So we got a pretty simple show today. I got a couple of news articles I want to jump into that I found somewhat interesting. Nothing life-changing by any means. I will say that if you go and search the news right now for the hot topic of Medicare, because we are, 7 days away from the election, it is an absolute battleground out there right now in the media regarding Medicare. You want to talk about a political football, man. It is easily one of the biggest ones out there, and it is being punted hard right now. Just jump on Google, type news, type Medicare, and watch what happens. And I'm going to tell you that as an agent, like that's a smart thing to do if you're struggling with finding content, right? Or creating your own original content. And I've said this many times, so I'm going to say it again, man. Steal from the content creators that are out there. There's a couple of things you can do very, very well if you are, if you're going to go at that route. And number one, you can grab those articles, you can talk about them, you can punch holes in them and tell people why certain articles are bullshit, for lack of a better word, right? Or why certain articles are relevant. And I do it some on this show, but as an agent, you can definitely do that. And I would encourage you to do that to help clear up some of the nonsense that is out there. Because if you do jump online and you search news, Medicare, you're going to find a bunch of garbage because they are constantly just pointing fingers and battling like it. That's the space that we live in, man. My buddy Ken Brannigan, I always like the way he does it because he specifically grabs the article, right, puts it on display, and then puts himself in a little window where he can point at the article and he'll talk about it. Great way to get content and maybe help clear up some of the confusion out there. So before we do that real quick, I do want to give a shout out to my guys over at DFY, the CRM of Doom. I love it to death, man. I have been a user of DFY for probably close to 3 years now. I have gone through, I can tell you this, when we started this agency back in August of 2020, technically May of 2020 is when we started building it. We launched marketing August 2020. I've gone through 4 CRMs in total, maybe 5 from day one. For a variety of reasons, right? Somebody has said, hey, this is the best Medicare CRM out there. Check it out. So I checked it out. It turned out it was trash. Went through another one, and eventually landed at DFY, where I found for me, is absolutely the best CRM out there for everything that I need to be doing. Because not only does it allow me a place to store records, which is, the foundational purpose of a CRM is customer relationship management, but then it gives me all these other things that I can do between the automations, the landing pages, the different funnels, et cetera, that I can build into it that's all housed. And we run a bilingual agency. So we're marketing in Spanish and English, right? We have agents here that can speak both Spanish and English. And we got idiots like myself that can only speak English for the most part, even though I know a little bit of Spanish. Todas las palabras malas, claro. But this CRM helps us identify those consumers as they're coming in, or those prospects, seek out their language preference, and then move them into the right funnel so that they're talking to the right agent. And then more importantly, so that we are communicating with them in the right language. Super easy to build. Love the platform. And then one of the biggest reasons why I think most people should look at DFY as an option for them when they're shopping CRMs is because it already has all of the workflows built in for you, right? One of the first Go High Level platforms I got introduced to was a completely blank slate. They're like, here you go. Here's our free Go High Level platform that comes with your lead order. But there was nothing in there, and I had no idea how to do anything with it. It was completely dumb. But Eric's platform already has all the workflows built into it. All you got to do is plug in your assets, and it's awesome. So thank you, Eric Fierro. Thanks to the guys at DFY for supporting the show. I am very, very appreciative of you guys. So with that said, man, I want to jump into just a couple of articles. I'm not going to go too deep, and then we're going to do some Q&A. If you guys have questions regarding Medicare, frankly, anything at all, feel free to drop them in the comments. I've got some some questions that I found in some of the different Facebook groups asking about Medicare related stuff, sales related stuff. And I'm going to pull those up and we're going to answer them live on the show. But again, if you guys have any questions, something that pops up, bring it on, man. Feel free to ask. So with that said, let me get my screen share running here for you, and we will dive right in. This first article is pretty phenomenal, I think. Check this out. Medicare begins covering the cost of robotic exoskeletons. And they show this guy in here with this walker, and it looks like he has, it's hard to kind of tell, the photo is not great, but you can see he has some structure around his waist down through his legs, which of course is some form of robotic exoskeleton. This is pretty cool, man. Like, these are some of the things about Medicare and technology that excite me instead of sitting here dealing with some of this other stuff that they do with Medicare. But it says right here that Ivan Vargas, age 70, of Richmond, practices walking with the help of robotic exoskeleton at Sheltering Arms Institute in Bonaire. Vargas is one of the first people on the East Coast whose exoskeleton was partially covered by Medicare. Outstanding. So he's one of the first people in the U.S. to receive the benefit. And it says here a little more. It says he was helping his son-in-law with the home renovation project when he fell through the home ceiling, suffering a T10 spinal cord injury that left him paralyzed. 4 years later, Vargas is now walking again with the help of a robotic exoskeleton. Previously, the cost of purchasing the device, nearly $100,000, would have prevented him from buying it. But as part of a rule change that went into effect in January, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services reclassified certain exoskeleton-type devices as braces, allowing them to be covered by Medicare when medically necessary. Pretty phenomenal. And I think, one of the big key points there is those two somewhat vague words that they love to use, medically necessary, which basically just means the doctor says you need it, and they can provide the prior authorization to show that is something. So the fact that now, and I don't know what Medicare covered, I would assume if it's based on standard Medicare percentages, let's say the thing was a flat $100,000, Medicare probably covered 80% of it. He had to cover $20,000. And if he had a Medicare supplement product, that might even help him cover some more of it. So, but pretty awesome that we're making these strides, so to speak, in the type of things that we can cover now. As a matter of fact, it says it right here. The Vargases completed their training and took Ivan's exoskeleton home in late September. He's the first person on the East Coast to get his device covered by Medicare, according to Sheltering Arms. Medicare covers, it just as I said, about 80% of the price tag, which was just over $91,000 in his instance. The patient responsible for the remaining cost, either out of pocket or through secondary insurance, like a Medicare supplement plan. So pretty phenomenal. And it goes on, just one little more blurb that says here, it says, prior to that CMS rule change, the majority of people using at-home exoskeletons were veterans who either had enough money to pay out of pocket or were able to get their devices covered by the Department of Veterans Affairs. So Super slick, man. And then it has some pictures of some of these exoskeletons down there as some examples. But I'll get this put in the group. You guys can check it out. But definitely impressive to see that we are making strides in not only technology, right, to help people live a normal life, but also that, hey, we're able to get Medicare to cover this stuff as well. So moving along, not so great news, but probably just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. We'll jump into this next one real fast. This is on Fierce Healthcare. It says that Blue Cross plan is accused of fraud in a ghost network class action lawsuit. Now, they are specifically talking about Anthem Blue Cross of New York, number one. They're not talking about the entirety of Blue Cross. But basically, in short, what they're saying in this article, if you read through it, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, I'm just going to kind of give you a synopsis. They are basically saying that their network in print or that you find online is a lot larger than it really is. And that they're duplicating contacts, they're duplicating names inside that network directory for guys that actually are not in network. So it creates a look that the network is much larger than it really is. And then unfortunately it's not. And then people are getting out of network care where they're having to pay more, or they're getting delays in care as well. So it says this network of doctors, which patients expect will accept their insurance plan, in most cases does not. Many patients sought mental health care but struggled to find a doctor within their network while contending with dozens of false options, also known as a ghost network. Goes on to say that the plaintiff's attorneys completed a secret shopper survey to see how extensive the problem is for patients. And after calling the first 100 doctors on Anthem's directory, only 7 actually accepted the insurance and would take new patients. Most would not accept the right insurance, were not mental health providers, or refused to take new patients, simply could not be contacted, as a news release. A downloaded directory of psychiatrists generated 4,300 providers, but many listings were duplicated dozens of times with different addresses, different telephone numbers, etc. Now, this little piece right here, most of us that have been surfing networks, we know where this comes from. It's not, and maybe there is a better way they could list this, but let's talk about this for real quick. So a lot of times you have a primary care physician or even a specialty physician, but he doesn't just work out of one location. He works out of 4, 5, 6, 3 locations. I mean, he works out of multiple locations. And in most cases, all of those locations would be in network, but that's also not always true. In some cases, his location on Main Street is in network, but the location at the Ascension Seton clinic or hospital, maybe that location is not in network for whatever reason. I don't necessarily know how all of that is decided, other than through negotiations with the different carriers, etc. But that could easily be a reason why that there might be duplicated listings within this directory. That's not necessarily Anthem or Blue Cross trying to be deceptive. It's just the fact of the matter that, hey, Dr. Johnson works out of 5 different locations. They have 5 different addresses with 5 different phone numbers at every location. And we have to list all of them because maybe not all of them are in network, right? So that could be some of the reason here. I'll give Blue Cross a little bit of credit on that one, that they are probably punching a little too hard on that one, punching down, so to speak, maybe. But I can get how people could get upset about this, especially if there are numerous doctors that are listed in the network but don't accept it. Like that first statement said, like, hey, we cold called 100 of them and we could only find 7 that said that they actually accepted the insurance. So it goes on to basically say that ghost networks are rife with errors and duplicate listings and are more common in mental health provider directories, interesting, than in other areas of care, the lawsuit explains. Failing to find a mental health provider after embarking on a wild goose chase, as the lawsuit explains, can intensify mental health woes and lead to even more expensive medical bills. Yeah, probably can. One other little mark down here that it says, I'll go ahead and hit this last paragraph or the second to last one. It says, these findings reinforce secret shopper studies from the New York Attorney General Office and the U.S. Senate. The New York Attorney General study revealed 86% of mental health providers listed on the health plan's network were effectively ghosts. The Senate Finance Committee's survey contracted providers in 6 states, and on average, 82% of the directory listings were ineffective. In Oregon, all providers contacted were ghost listings. Wow. So yeah, that could definitely be an issue. And I can see how Blue Cross may have themselves in a wee bit of hot water over that. So moving along, let's jump into another one. And you've heard me talk a lot about value-based care on this show from time to time. And here we have another, I guess, consolidation, if you will, right? But Elevance Health, which is Anthem, right? Anthem recently changed their name to Elevance. They are scooping up value-based care company CareBridge. So this isn't the first time that we've seen this by any means. And I think that we will see more consolidation with large Medicare Advantage corporations bringing in or buying their own value-based care clinic, right? The whole CVS health system bought Oak Street as an example, right? And there are certainly other ones. But it goes on and just says, and I'll be brief on this one for the most part, but it says Elevance Health plans to acquire home health company CareBridge in a deal that's reported worth $2.7 billion. Elevance CEO Gail Boudreaux told investors on the company's earnings call earlier this month that the company's Carillon division recently entered into a deal to acquire CareBridge. So I'm hoping that this might elevate Elevance's total value proposition as a carrier quite a bit higher, because this could definitely be a great opportunity for them to provide more coordinated care for people that are on their plan. So look for more info on this in the future. To give you a little more info on CareBridge, it was still relatively new, founded in 2019 by former Centers of Medicare Medication Innovation Director Brad Smith and former Senator Bill Frist. It operates in 17 states, including the District of Columbia. So just another little piece on consolidation there. And then here we're just going to jump into a couple of bullshit items that make me mad and just again stress the I guess the importance of why headlines are often garbage. So first one right here from the Anchorage Daily News. They're having some fun with headlines. Over 1 million patients lose Medicare as insurers and hospitals drop Medicare Advantage. Well, we already know, if we've been doing this business long enough, that every year during AEP, more than 1 million people lose their Medicare Advantage plan by no fault of their own through service area reductions, plan exits, plan crosswalks, etc. It happens every year. It's not new. I will say this year it's a little bit bigger, right? It's a little closer to 2 million people that are suffering from this, but this happens every year as consolidation, plan exits, service area reductions change. About 1 million people lose their Medicare coverage, and it tends to be often more rampant in Florida and California. And I'm not saying it as a negative. It's just part of the industry as it shakes up every year as networks change and contracts change, et cetera. So again, this is a bit of an example of someone taking a headline that's actually routine news every year and trying to turn it into this bad thing that spins Medicare Advantage bad. I'm not going to get too political about it, but if you go to the news right now and you look at information regarding Medicare Advantage, you will see some of the most politically heated opinions based around this platform that I've probably ever seen this year. And I'm going to hit it again with the next article, which is an opinion piece. But it really just bugs the hell out of me because it's confusing for people to really get their head wrapped around this. But there's a ton of bad news about Medicare Advantage. Why? Because Medicare Advantage is private version of healthcare, right? Who generally prefers privatization of things like this? Well, generally Republicans do, capitalists. But the fact remains that if you go back and look at the data, since 2014, the Democratic power, the Democratic administrations have been the ones increasing federal funding to privatize Medicare Advantage plans. President Obama increased private funding in 2014, 2015, 2016. Republicans took over after that. They still increased the funding to them, although they increased it at less than Obama's rate. And then when Biden took over again in 2020, he set record number increases for the subsidy increase to Medicare Advantage plans. We all know this. He set records 2 years in a row, 2022, 2023, with about a 5% bump and then an 8% bump, which were the fattest ones that had ever happened. Yet, they're going to use it as a political football to try to blame it all on Republicans to get themselves elected. That's just kind of the way it goes. And I will just leave it at that. This is another example of one of those articles that is specifically trying to talk down to Medicare Advantage plans, right, in an effort to create that in voters' minds, so the hope that they can get them to go pull the right lever later. And I'm not even going to bother going through this article, but I'll put it in the group if you guys want to see it. But it's just another example of shitty headlines to drive fever, if you will. Same thing with this one, man. I'm just going to give y'all one more just because this is twisting me a little bit today. And then I'll dive into some Q&A. But right here, it says it again. Republicans' healthcare proposal, if Trump wins, more private Medicare. And this is just an example. Hey, Jessica Glenza, whoever you are out there on the internet, you need to do some more research, because the fact is Democrats are the ones that have been funding Medicare Advantage plans to the tune of billions of dollars every year. They keep pumping up the funding to it, and then they keep hiding behind closed doors and pointing at the other side saying it's all their fault. So I'm going to reach out to you later, Jessica. I'm coming, and I'm going to make sure that you're a little more smarter for the next bullshit article that you write. So there you go. I'll put this one, and I'm not even going to put this crap in the group because it's not worth it. But obviously, it's just an opinion hit piece that takes Medicare Advantage, paints it bad, and then pushes it on the opposite side. So again, this is just that time of the year where Medicare is completely used as a political football. So there you go. There's end of rant. End of rant, man. I hope you guys are doing good. But I got some Q&A for you guys. So again, I went and I poked around some of the different Medicare groups on Facebook and aggregated a few questions that I want to run over with you guys. So let me get them on screen here, and we will just drive through them real fast. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. So let's go. Where is the first one? Boom, right here. Here we go. Does someone still have a trial right to change to Medicare supplement if they enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan in 2024 when they first turned 65 and not happy with their plan? Why, yes. Yes, they do. And how does that work? Well, it's pretty simple. It's based on your Part A. It's based on your Part A eligibility date. This is the very important part. So based on your Part A eligibility date, if the first thing you do is you enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, and anytime in that first 12 months, you're like, no, this is not for me. I don't like network-driven care. You know, some of the co-payments and co-insurance is a little too high for me, right? I don't like dealing with prior authorization or having to get referrals or things like that. And you feel like, hey, this is not for me. Well, within the first 12 months of you making that election, you can say, nope, I want out. And what they will do is they will retroactive your Medicare supplement open enrollment period for 6 months. And then you can go enroll in any Medicare supplement plan you want. Fairly simple. So yes, you do get your trial right within the first year of enrolling. This is also true. Let's just go ahead and finish it out. This is also true if you've only ever had a Medicare supplement plan. You've never been enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. You came out of the gate, you turned 65, you enrolled in a Medicare supplement plan. It's been going along. You're like, this is pretty cool. But then the premiums keep going up. And you're like, well, maybe I should try me one of them Medicare Advantage plans. Maybe I should. And so then you leave your Medicare supplement during, say, AEP. You enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan. And then in the next 12 months, you decide, no, I do not like this Medicare Advantage plan. I want my old Medicare supplement coverage back. This one's a little different. In this case, you have to go back to the original Medicare supplement carrier and plan letter to exercise your trial right. So, for example, you've been clicking along on a Mutual of Omaha Plan G as an example for a while, and you decide, no, I'm going to try out this Humana Medicare Advantage plan. Well, no. You decide, no, I don't like this Humana Medicare Advantage plan all of a sudden, and I'm just using Humana arbitrarily, of course. So in those first 12 months, you're like, man, I really want my Mutual Omaha Plan G back. Well, you can. You can go straight back to your Mutual Omaha Plan G as long as you exercise it within 12 months of being on that Medicare Advantage plan. Now, if for some reason Mutual of Omaha is no longer accepting new business on that block or on Plan G for some reason in that specific block of business, then and only then can you go to any carrier with a certain selection of plans. And that question is coming up a little bit later. As a matter of fact, it's the next question. It carries right into it. So I'm going to dive into that as well. But so I'm going to say that again, right? There's two trial rights that exist out there. The first one is when you very first come into Medicare and you're like, hey, I'm brand new to Medicare. I just qualified for Part A. I'm going to check out a Medicare Advantage plan. You enroll in it. And then in 12 months, you're like, nope, don't like it. I can go back, reinitiate my IEP, so to speak, and choose a Medicare supplement plan. And in that situation, I could pick any Medicare supplement plan I want that is available to me. Plan A, Plan B, Plan D, Plan G, Plan N, period. I can pick any plan I want. Zero underwriting questions, no pre-existing clauses, no waiting periods, nothing. The second trial right is if you've only ever owned a Medicare supplement, no matter how old you are. The only plan you've ever had has been Medicare A and B with a Medicare supplement, and you decide, I want to try out a Medicare Advantage plan. And then in 12 months, you're like, nope, don't like it. In that situation, you have to go back to the original Medicare supplement carrier and plan, unless for some reason they're no longer taking new business, because they're going to treat you like new business. It's not a reinstatement. Right? But you have to give them the first option. If they say, sorry, we're no longer accepting new business, this block has been closed off. Now I can take that and I can go to any carrier, but I'm going to be limited on plan selection based on the state and my age to some extent. Not so much my age as it is my Part A effective date. And that's what the next question is here. This dives right into that same concept. If a member is losing their Medicare Advantage plan due to a service area reduction for 2025, does this open up a guarantee issue for all Medicare supplement plans or just specific ones based on their age? It's not so much based on their age, but it is based on their Part A eligibility date, right? Doesn't matter if they're 62 or 72 or 92 or 102. It's based on their Part A eligibility date. So if we remember back in 2020 when micro access reimbursement, I don't remember what the hell it means, but the macro legislation that came through that went into effect 2020. What did that tell us? That said, hey, anybody that became eligible for Part A prior to January 1, 2020, they still have access to all Medicare supplement plans. A, B, C, D, F, G, K, L, M, N, etc. Right? But anybody who's Part A or became eligible for Part A after January 1, 2020, they no longer have access to plans F as in Frank or C as in Charlie. They cannot get them, period, end of story. So that will be a little bit of the basement here, right? Based on their Part A eligibility date, will they have access to these set of plans, or their eligibility dates after 2020, they'll have access to these set of plans instead. So that will determine part of it. Other than that, a lot of the states will determine which plans they allow for guarantee issue. But short answer is yes. If you are losing your Medicare Advantage plan, and we've talked about this a couple of times already, if you run across people who are losing their Medicare Advantage plan involuntarily, this includes Medicare Advantage plans, group, pretty much any major medical plan, right, that is equivalent to Medicare, so to speak. If they lose that plan by no fault of their own, they move out of the area, the plan exits because of a service area reduction like this, whatever it is, yes, they're going to get a guarantee issue right to enroll in a Medicare supplement plan. The plan availability will first be selected or available based on their Part A eligibility date. and then secondarily, the state that they live in, which determines which Medicare supplement plans are available for guarantee issue. In short, I can tell you that all states will tell you that if their eligibility date for Part A is prior to January 1, 2020, it will always be plans A, C, and F. I can guarantee you those three are in there, 100%. If you go to Ohio, you'll see some extra plans. I think A, B, C, and D are all included in their guarantee issue in addition to F. And it might be all plans in that state, I forget. If it's after January 1, 2020, their Part A eligibility date, then I can tell you that in all states, plans A, D as in dog, and G as in giraffe will be included as a guarantee issue option for them. And in some states, it'll be, again, slightly different, or you might see a couple more plans. I'm 99% sure I am correct in saying that no states will give you Plan N as guarantee issue unless it's one of the 3 states that are always guarantee issue, which is New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. There's never underwriting in those states because they're community rated, and it's part of why their rates are so high for Medicare supplements. So again, when you have someone that qualifies for guarantee issue to Medicare supplement, their plan availability to enroll in GI is going to be number 1, based on their Part A effective date or eligibility date, and number 2, the state that they reside. And I'll tell you that there's a really great tool that you can easily find this information. Choosing a Medigap policy guide will help you locate this, but quicker is honestly Mutual Omaha's underwriting guide. Even if you're not selling Mutual Omaha, I would encourage you to get a copy of their underwriting guide, because inside their underwriting guide, they have a whole section that's dedicated to questions like this, right? What states or what plan availability is for guarantee issue in all of the different states, right? What are the reasons for that someone would qualify for trial right or this? Like, they list a whole chart on all those questions very easily, and you can find answers to them real fast and know that you're doing the right thing for your client. And one more further note on this: if you are writing guarantee issue business because of loss of coverage, with exception of states, I believe, like Colorado, maybe South Carolina, if I remember right, although I might be wrong on that one, but I know for a fact Colorado is one of them. Every other state out there, for the most part, will hardly pay you any commission for chasing down this type of business. They're going to pay about $25 one time. I think Cigna pays you like 2% as a one-time commission, 2% of the premium, something like that, which comes out to around $25 usually. So don't go after this business and spin your wheels unless you do live in a state like Colorado where it's still profitable. But generally speaking, most carriers will not pay you anything, hardly, if you go enroll someone guarantee issue due to loss of coverage involuntarily. Is it a good thing to do? Absolutely. And if it's the necessary thing to do for that client where you know you're taking the right care of them, do it. Absolutely do it and pat yourself on the back. But don't be like, oh, I'm going to go chase all this guarantee issue business because I don't want to have to underwrite shit because I'm lazy. Well, you're not going to get paid for it. It's going to be a waste of your time. So moving along, next question was, hey, when someone enrolls in a CSNP, chronic special needs plan, how does the confirmation of the chronic needs work? Well, the process is going to vary a little bit from one carrier to the next, but basically you have 60 days to confirm in medical sense, not just be like, I confirm that they have it. Like, they're going to have to get doctor and providers involved. You got 60 days to confirm that this person does indeed have the chronic illness that is required under that chronic special needs plan. So the carriers are going to fill out the process differently. In some cases, they might reach out directly to the client and have them get the documentation that they need. In some cases, they might call you, the agent, to help facilitate it. In many cases, they're just going to reach out directly to the primary care physician that you listed on that application and that provider, and they're going to verify it that way, which tends to be the quickest, but that's not always the case. So you might, if you're enrolling a lot of CSNPs, you might want to just double check specifically with the carrier that you're working with and verify their process. I can tell you that regardless of who it is, it's always 60 days after the enrollment effective date to get that done. But the different carriers are going to go through the process a little bit differently, whether they're coming directly at you to help facilitate it, directly the doctor, or directly the Medicare beneficiary. So you'll want to double check that one for you. And if then in the event that it doesn't get confirmed, they're going to boot them off that CSNP, right? And then they'll have to enroll in something else. So there we go. Now, that's a great follow-up question now, because going back to our guarantee issue thoughts on loss of coverage, that is a good question that now I've thought secondarily, and I'll have to research this one and get back to you, because I'm not sure if a person enrolls in a CSNP, doesn't get it confirmed inside of 60 days, and then gets booted off of that plan. Is that guarantee issue in the Medicare supplement? Seems like it would be. Good question. I'll get back to you on that one. Moving along, how do you calculate the penalty for someone that has gone years without drug coverage in Texas? That's supposed to be without, not with. You've gone years with drug coverage. There would be no penalty for that. So how do you calculate the penalty for someone that has gone years without drug coverage in Texas? Well, fairly simply, you're going to take 1% of every month, or the total number of months that they were out, 1% times the total number of months by the national base premium. And it's going to be the national base premium for a Medicare drug plan in the year that they're making the election. So, for example, this year, the national base premium for Medicare Part D is $36.78. So you're going to take 1% of $36.78 for the number of months that they went without drug coverage. If someone went 3 years without it, that's 36 months. That's 36% of that number. And that's going to get added to their drug plan premium, right? So let's just keep it simple, because I'm bad at math. Let's say it was 10 months, right? Which would be 10%. So they'd add $3.68 in that case, 10% of $36.78. So they'd add $3.68 to whatever their premium is for the plan that they do enroll at the time they enroll. Now, if they were to enroll in a zero premium Medicare Advantage drug plan, then they're going to deduct their Social Security, if they're paying or getting Social Security, by $3.68. Or they're going to get a bill every month for $3.68 to be enrolled in that Medicare Advantage plan. Does that make sense? Fairly simple. It is 1% for every month that they weren't enrolled, but it's based off the national base premium, which changes every year and tends to go up. This year it's $36.78. Moving along. Does anyone have any definitive answers as to whether Medicare intends to enforce the Part D equivalent rule now that Part D has a $2,000 MOOP? If you don't know what they're talking about there, they're talking about group plans as an example. Pardon me. But as we know, in order to dodge that late Part D penalty, you have to be enrolled in drug coverage that is at least as good as, or if not better than, Medicare's drug coverage. In most cases, your group plan, if you're still on it after 65 when you're eligible for a Medicare drug plan, in most cases, your group plan is going to give you drug coverage that is on par or equivalent to what Medicare offers. But with the new Inflation Reduction Act rules and the new $2,000 max out of pocket on pharmacy expenses on your drug coverage, that's better than probably all, if not most, group plans, which means that most group plans are not offering credible coverage to dodge the Part D penalty, which means that if you stay on your group plan after you're eligible for Part A and therefore Part D drug coverage of Medicare, you're on a plan that is no longer considered creditable drug coverage against what Medicare offers, because the benefits just aren't as good. Which means that you would not be dodging the late enrollment penalty by staying on your group drug coverage. You would need to gravitate to Medicare. Now, I'm of the opinion that they are 100% going to enforce this, because the government is more greedy than insurance companies are, and they want their money. But they have given us a stay of execution until 2026. So since the Inflation Reduction Act and this $2,000 MOOP went into effect this year, 2025, they gave us 1 year to kind of let it settle down. But starting in 2026, if you're on a group plan getting drug coverage while you're eligible for Part D of Medicare, you are not going to be evading the 1% penalty. So that's just the way it is. And yes, I totally believe that they intend to enforce it, but they're not going to enforce it until 2026. We all get this year for free. Moving along. Does anyone know of a Medicare Advantage plan in Colorado that would pay for Wegovy for weight loss only? Well, there's 2 words in here that are actually completely unnecessary. Colorado doesn't matter, and technically Medicare Advantage plans don't matter, because in this case, it doesn't matter what state you're in, and it doesn't matter what Medicare Advantage plan you're on. None of them will cover Wegovy for weight loss. Why? Because Medicare in general won't cover Wegovy for weight loss. You have to be taking it as a prescription to treat diabetes. You cannot go convince your doctor to give you Wegovy just because you want to lose some pounds and get it covered. It won't get covered. Doesn't matter what Medicare Advantage plan you're on. Doesn't matter what state you live in. Just flat out, Medicare doesn't cover Wegovy for weight loss. It will only cover it for diabetes, period. And that's assuming you can find a plan that even includes it on formulary secondarily. But for weight loss, nope. Nobody will cover it, period. Never, ever, ever. Moving along. If someone switches from Plan F to Plan G now, will they need to meet their Part B deductible? Well, that would depend on whether or not they've gotten service in the year, right? I saw some people answer this question and just straight up say no, which is probably correct. But if they haven't gotten service in the year, right? If I'm on a Plan F, but I haven't even gone to the doctor at all, period, and then I enroll in a Plan G and I go to the doctor, I'm going to have to meet my deductible, $240. Now, alternatively, if I'm on a Plan F and I've been going to the doctor throughout the year and my Part B deductible has already been fulfilled and covered by my Plan F, and then I switch to Plan G, no, I'm good for the rest of this year, and then it'll restart next year. So ultimately, that answer is going to depend on if you've gotten service or not under your Plan F in that year. Fairly simple. Next one. Anyone know of a Medicare supplement plan besides the AARP that doesn't do a height weight knockout for a bigger sized person? Certainly, United Healthcare doesn't use a height weight chart to underwrite. There are others. One of the more popular ones out there is Aetna Medicare supplement plans, which has been sold as Aetna. It's been sold as Ascendo, Continental Life, depending on what state you're in. The application will ask for height and weight, but they don't underwrite against it, right? So if you, for example, are looking at, say, Mutual of Omaha, or you're looking at ACE Medicare supplement or Bankers Fidelity, where they have a height weight chart, and if you're in the skinny line in the middle, right, they will approve you and give you a preferred rate. But then if you're slipping like 10% outside, then they start rating you up, right? But not every carrier does that. Some of them do. And some of them are just going to give you a height weight chart, and either you're in it and it's approved, or you're declined if you're outside of it. So a little bit that's going to vary by carrier. But the 2 most common that don't underwrite against your height weight is United Healthcare, which is endorsed by AARP, and Aetna. So if you got people that are struggling in the height weight side, those are definitely 2 areas that you can look. Last question, unless you guys bring some on. What Medigap carriers are most affordable in Florida? Because United Healthcare and Humana are too expensive. And I would say, well, too expensive and compared to what? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at some rates in Florida for Medicare supplements real quick. Let me reshare my screen. And since this is going to a private group full of insurance agents, I shouldn't have any issues showing actual rates. Don't do this to consumers, by the way. Anyway, moving along. So this is my CSG quoting tool that you're looking at there on screen. It allows me to look at every single Medicare supplement carrier in any given zip code, coast to coast like butter and toast. I am currently looking at the zip code of 32034, which is Fernandina Beach, Florida, Nassau County. I'm looking at a 65-year-old female, non-smoker, Plan G. The cheapest rate in the state is $169.76. That's with Cigna National Health Group. I can tell you that they've been in the market for 4 years. This effective date of this rate was March of 2024, which tells me that we'll probably see a rate adjustment on that plan somewhere around March to July next year. And hopefully it won't be too bad. But hey, who has the cheapest rates in Florida? Well, at least in Nassau County, for a 65-year-old female Plan G, Cigna is at the top of the list at $169. You'll see it's fairly compressed. And then it jumps up pretty quick. I mean, they're not lying. Humana's in there at $187. Ace at $193. Mutual Omaha with their United World at $197. And of course, ARP jumps in at $206. And yes, and even Plan N, like if we want to reset this and look at it on Plan N rates out of curiosity, which if I'm writing MedSups in Florida, like I'm going to do my best to try to write a Plan N. I mean, I'm going to try to write Plan N in every zip code that I'm in. But you're looking at 126.15 is your Plan N rate. Check that out. That was a huge difference. What was that Plan G rate for a 65-year-old female in Nassau County, Florida was $169.76. $126.15 is the Plan N. That is a $43.61 difference per month. I'm so glad this just popped, because now I'm going to rant on why you guys should stop selling Plan G and start selling Plan N. And the evidence is right there in that math, 100%. And if you're not taking the time to do this and show your customers this, you're not showing them what an expert you are, and you're going to lose business long term. I guarantee it. So 167.76. No, that's not it. I already did that. Is 43.61. What's 43.61 times 12? Who's smart? It's a lot of money. It's $523.32. So I'm gonna, if this person that we're talking to, this female 65-year-old on Plan G, there's a $532 annual premium difference for this person between G and N. What benefit are they losing that's worth spending $523 a year on? I'll wait. And if you tell me it's excess charges, I'm just going to tell you no. Because excess charges are extremely rare. If you find them, you're going to see them with psychiatrists, psychologists, maybe the occasional neuroscientist. But for the most part, people aren't doing excess charges. So like, what is really the difference? What benefit are they gaining on Plan G versus Plan N that's worth spending $523 a year? They're none, zero. Because Plan N and Plan G have the exact same hospital coverage. Number one, 100%. If you're hospitalized on Plan G, it's going to function the same way as it would on Plan N and vice versa, period. Right? They both have to pay the Part B deductible, which is $240. That's identical. So the only difference is that next copayment. After you meet your Part B deductible on Plan G, you're done spending money. On Plan N, if you have additional doctor visits in the year, doesn't matter if it's PCP, doesn't matter if it's specialist, doesn't matter if it's rehab, outpatient therapy, etc. The most you're ever going to pay is $20. So how many 20s do you have to blow in a year to spend $523? Like 25 of them. So you would have to, number one, fulfill your Part B deductible and then have another 25 doctor visits at $20 a pop. to get close to Plan N, making less sense than your Plan G at the higher premium. Now, we also know there is a $50 emergency room copayment on Plan N, but let's be honest, that is garbage too. If you cut your hand and you go to the emergency room and they stitch your hand up and send you home, it's $50. If you go to the emergency room because you have chest pains and they're like, sorry, we're going to have to keep you overnight, it is no longer $50 because they're going to admit you to the hospital. And again, on Plan N, you're 100% covered. This is one of the best examples I've ever seen of why someone should sell Plan N over Plan G. Was right there, a $43 difference in premium monthly, which is a $532 difference a year. So huge difference there. But the original question, if you guys remember, sorry, here is what Medicare are most affordable. Cigna is definitely leading the pack. Federal Life is in there. American Home Life. Those are your top three. Aflac's even still trying to hang around. But this is huge because, I mean, if you're in Florida, man, and you are selling Medicare supplement plans, you should be selling the hell out of Plan N. It's a great way to keep your rates low. It has the lowest rate trends of any Medicare supplement plan on the market. A lot of the carriers are increasing your commission percentage when selling Plan N versus selling higher premium products. That way you're still making about the same commission, right? And then you're not just selling a higher premium product to fill your own pockets. You're actually selling a product that's better for your client. But then more importantly, long-term, the rate trends on this Plan N are going to outlast any other product, and your client's going to stay on the books, and they're going to be happy, and they're going to love you, and they're going to keep renewing, and you're going to keep stacking renewals, and you're going to grow a great practice. That's why you should sell Plan N, and it's a phenomenal way to counter Medicare Advantage plans. That's the show. Hope you guys had a good one. I will see y'all on the flip side for more Tuesday training. Have a great day, man. If you got questions that you want answered on the show, anything at all, if you got people that you recommend that you want me to bring on the show to talk about the interview, let me know. I'm always looking for new guests, new topics, new things to talk about. And until then, have an awesome day, man. And we will see you next Tuesday for Tuesday training.